Ozzy Osbourne, the final curtain call of the Prince of Darkness. In the world of rock and roll, few figures loom as large or shine as darkly as Ozzy Osbourne. He wasn't just a musician, he was a force of nature. The news of his passing last month, at the age of 76, sent shockwaves through the music world. More than a cultural icon, Ozzy was a symbol of unfiltered rebellion, raw humanity, and undying perseverance. The Prince of Darkness had danced with death many times, but on July 22nd, surrounded by those who loved him most, Ozzy finally took his last bow. Now, as fans and fellow rockers mourn his loss, we reflect not only on the official cause of death, a combination of acute myocardial infarction, out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, and complications from Parkinson's disease, but on the larger story of the man behind the myth. His music, family, struggles, and success form a mosaic of brilliance, heartbreak, and lasting impact. The final days, a quiet goodbye to a loud life. Though Ozzy had been battling Parkinson's disease since 2019, his death still came as a painful surprise. According to his death certificate, obtained by The Sun, the rocker died of coronary artery disease, leading to a heart attack and cardiac arrest. Despite the medical complications, those closest to him have emphasized that his final moments were peaceful. He was laid to rest in a private funeral held at his 250-acre Buckinghamshire estate, a home he cherished deeply. The intimate ceremony was attended by his wife Sharon Osbourne, their children, and a somber gathering of rock legends, including longtime guitarist Zakk Wylde and the controversial yet close friend Marilyn Manson. It was a send-off fit for a king of chaos. Poignantly, Ozzy's last public appearance came just weeks before his death. In a triumphant, bittersweet farewell, he returned to his native Birmingham to perform one final show at Villa Park Stadium. The concert, titled Back to the Beginning, saw him reunited with his original Black Sabbath bandmates for the first time in nearly 2 decades. In front of a sold-out crowd of over 42,000 fans, Ozzy addressed them with emotion. "You've no idea how I feel, thank you from the bottom of my heart." It was a full-circle moment, Ozzy, back where it all began, leaving it all on stage. A career built on mayhem and mastery. Ozzy Osbourne's journey to rock immortality began in the late 1960s in the industrial heart of Birmingham, England. He rose to prominence as the lead singer of Black Sabbath, a band credited with creating the heavy metal genre. Their music, dark, brooding, and revolutionary, stood in stark contrast to the hippie anthems of the era. Hits like Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs became anthems for a generation that craved something real, raw, and angry. Ozzy's voice wasn't just a sound, it was a battle cry, the soundtrack of rebellion. But with fame came friction. Years of drug use, drinking, and erratic behavior led to his dismissal from the band in 1979. Yet, in true Osbourne fashion, he didn't crumble, he soared. His solo career exploded with albums like Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, delivering classics such as Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. Through it all, he cultivated a persona that was both terrifying and magnetic, a bat-biting, stage-diving antihero who became a cultural phenomenon. By the time of his passing, Ozzy had sold over 100 million albums, headlined countless tours, and left an imprint on music history that can never be erased. Behind the screams, a life of love, struggle, and family. Behind the madness and mayhem was a man constantly at war with himself. Ozzy's life was deeply affected by addiction, mental health issues, and illness, but also by love, resilience, and family. His marriage to Sharon Osbourne in 1982 marked the beginning of a complex and enduring partnership. Sharon was not only his wife but also his manager, protector, and often his savior. Their marriage wasn't without its challenges. Infidelity, substance abuse, and violent outbursts tested their bond time and time again. But somehow they held on. Together, they raised 3 children, Kelly and Jack. In the early 2000s, the world got an unfiltered look at their chaotic household through MTV's The Osbournes, a groundbreaking reality show that blended comedy, dysfunction, and heartfelt moments. For many fans, it was the first time they saw Ozzy not as a rock god, but as a confused but caring father, struggling to find peace in the storm of his own mind. His battle with drugs and alcohol was lifelong. He checked into rehab multiple times, survived near-fatal overdoses, and often described himself as a man living on borrowed time. But he was also open about his struggles, helping to break the stigma around addiction and mental illness in the rock community. In later years, his health deteriorated. A serious fall in 2019 worsened spinal injuries, and his Parkinson's diagnosis added further complications. Still, Ozzy continued to record music, make appearances, and connect with fans whenever he could. His resilience was nothing short of superhuman. Rock royalty real estate, homes fit for a legend. Ozzy's success translated not only into music history but into a lifestyle few could imagine. The Osbournes owned a series of extravagant properties across the UK and the US, reflecting both their wealth and flair for the dramatic. The most famous of these is undoubtedly their Beverly Hills mansion, featured prominently on their reality show. Lavish yet lived in, it became a character in its own right, as fans got to see Ozzy wandering its hallways half-dressed and bewildered. In recent years, the family began divesting from their California holdings. In 2023, citing California's rising taxes and a longing to return to their roots, Ozzy and Sharon moved back to Buckinghamshire, England. Their new home, known as Welder's House, is a picturesque 120-year-old estate with ancient oak trees and countryside charm. It was here that Ozzy chose to spend his final days, and where he was ultimately laid to rest. Over time, their portfolio included properties in Hancock Park, Hidden Hills, and Malibu, many of which were sold for multi-million-dollar profits. These homes were more than just places to live. They were sanctuaries, retreats from the madness of fame. Ozzy's empire, a net worth carved in sound and struggle. At the time of his death, Ozzy Osbourne's net worth was estimated at $220 million. His fortune was amassed through decades of touring, album sales, merchandise, and media ventures. His solo career alone generated enormous wealth, and his role in the birth of heavy metal guaranteed royalties that flowed for decades. The launch of Ozzfest, a touring festival started in 1996, added millions more to his bank account and helped introduce a new generation to hard rock and metal. The reality show The Osbournes was also a major commercial success, turning the family into pop culture icons beyond the music world. Sharon Osbourne's success as a TV host, talent judge, and businesswoman further bolstered their fortune, making them one of the most financially successful families in entertainment. Ozzy didn't just build a career, he built an empire. And he did it on his own chaotic, unforgettable terms. Conclusion: a legend who lived loud and died loved. Ozzy Osbourne's life was never quiet. It was loud, messy, glorious, painful, and at times, surreal. But through it all, he remained unapologetically himself. From the darkness of addiction to the bright lights of sold-out arenas, he walked every path without pretense. His death marks the end of an era, but also the beginning of his eternal legacy. Ozzy will be remembered not just as a musician, but as a man who transformed chaos into art, suffering into inspiration, and madness into magic. He was a father, a husband, a friend, and a fighter. And above all, he was a survivor, until he no longer needed to survive. Now, as his voice fades into the silence he once defied, the world says goodbye not just to the Prince of Darkness, but to a king whose kingdom was the stage, whose crown was his courage, and whose legacy will echo forever in the halls of rock and roll.